All right, and we now turn to our guest, Dean Tong, internationally known family rights and forensic consultant.
Now, tell us about Dean Tong.
Joining me, forensic child abuse expert Dean Tong.
Hired forensic legal consultant Dean
Tong, a forensic legal consultant and author of Elusive Innocence.
When the media needs an expert commentator on false allegations, child abuse in custody, domestic violence, date rape, or sex crimes, one name stands above the rest. Author and expert Dean Tong. In the last 10 years, the number of false allegation domestic lawsuits has risen significantly and is punctuated by the growing number of celebrities finding themselves in court. Dean Tong is a forensic trial consultant who has organized what has become known as the Dean Team, a professional group who work behind the scenes, combining science and technology with law to clear the names of the falsely accused.
What if the test comes back and says he's capable of molesting children? What will you do?
Then, Houston, we have a problem. Make no mistake about it. I'm not, and this is not a how to get off child abuse defense team. If you did it, you're going down.
Becoming a forensic trial consultant wasn't Dean's first career choice. In fact, it was more of a case of survival.
Here to talk about that, forensic trial consultant and author Dean Tong, who was himself falsely accused of sexually abusing his own daughter. Mr. Tong, it's good to have you with us today. And I'd like
Martha, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'd like you have a very interesting story, which must have just been horrific for you. You were falsely accused during divorce proceedings, as I understand it. Just give us a quick thumbnail sketch of what happened to you.
Sure, that was 20 years ago, and my case arose out of a bitter divorce and custody battle. I basically found myself accused of molesting my 3-year-old daughter, and the short of the long was 10 years of litigation, $150,000. 6 different courts, 7 attorneys, 7 psychologists, dehumanizing tests to prove my innocence. And
those charges were overturned ultimately?
Yes, the state of Florida dismissed the criminal charges. The family court gleaned where there was smoke, there was fire, and I had...
The traumatic ordeal inspired Dean to write Don't Blame Me, Daddy, Ashes to Ashes, Families to Dust, and Elusive Innocence, Survival Guide for the Falsely Accused. The American Journal of Family Therapy had this to say about elusive innocence. This work underscores the tools for professionals and of those falsely accused to understand, educate, and overcome this horrific and distasteful situation, to fight back, and encompasses many aspects with all of the nuances. The last 20 years, Dean has vindicated hundreds of falsely accused doctors, lawyers, clergy, and other male and female victims in 44 states across the U.S. When lawmakers from Illinois and Florida were considering legislation aimed at reducing the false allegation lawsuits clogging our court system, they met with Dean Tong and asked for his advice. Dean has also been asked to sit on several boards and invited to speak on multiple occasions. He's made headlines in prestigious newspapers across the country, including the Washington Post, the Boston Globe, the Sun Sentinel, the Denver Post, Deseret News, the Christian Science Monitor, and in what was meant to be a scathing interview, Salon.com said this about Dean. In fact, there's a good deal of what comes out of Tong's mouth that outside experts can all agree with. Dean has been a major contributor to feature articles in many notable magazines, including the American Journal of Family Therapy and Fostering Families. Tong's expertise has also earned him the honor of being one of the local and national media's most sought-after guests.
Tong, who is a consultant for Bridget's legal team.
Bridget was not your typical woman who was out to get a man. She was not one who would use her children as pawns, weapons, or tools, or ammunition.
NBA superstar Kobe Bryant. You know, there are some people who are going to see sex polygraph or hear it. They're not going to know whether to chuckle or to take it seriously. What would you recommend?
Well, it is because a lot of Americans and judges included are naive and unwitting to this test. This is called a penile plethysmograph.
Although his accomplishments are many, Dean considers Dr. Phil's endorsement of his work to be his greatest accolade.
Okay. Now, tell us about Dean Tong.
Dean has been a godsend, and he is so knowledgeable.
Now, there are a lot of mothers out there that deal with these things, so I'm going to put y'all's information on our website so they can find you guys to know what's going on. Now,